Okay, so there's kind of three zones for the power in the tiny cabin that I'm going to be working on today. The first one is this little electro cabinet. So this little cabinet has the charge controller in it and the fuse block for all of the lights and fan and stuff to get to be fused. So two things in here. I want to put in a terminal block to put all those ground connections to. And then I want to put a actual switch on the fan. The fan has always just been either plugged in or not plugged into the fuse block in order to make it run. So I want to put a switch on that properly. And then, yeah, and then just clean up the wiring so that it looks a little cleaner in there. So that's this box. Then we've got this cabinet, and in this cabinet we've got the actual battery. Now my biggest concern with the battery is that it's just an old car battery taken off of my wife's car when we got her a new battery, and so it is just a lead acid battery, and as most of you might know, a lead acid battery as it's charging will let off some amount of hydrogen gas, so not really the kind of thing you want in here necessarily, especially if the battery gets depleted a lot and then needs a big charge. Because that could create a good amount of gas that is explosive. So not a good thing. So I would like to build a little box around that battery and vent it to the outside the same way the battery is vented in my trailer. So we're going to try and build a little system to vent that box out. Now luckily hydrogen is much lighter than air, and so it wants to escape anything you put up. So that's what we'll do. Then the other thing in there is proper terminal connections and getting fuses between things and that sort of thing. The third stage of stuff that I'd like to do today is just add the same kind of charging ports, a 12-volt cigarette plug port, as well as a couple of USB ports to the wall on the other side where the bench is, where the bed is. Because really that's where I want to plug things in. I want to be able to plug my phone in over there in the living space, as opposed to having to come over here all the time to check if it's charged or not. So, and adding a couple of USB ports is not such a bad idea. And then the cigarette adapter port will allow us to plug in a number of different devices. We've got a little 12-volt vacuum we can put on there and some other things. So that's the plan today. So let's get those three done. We're going to start in here and we're going to clean up these wires and do those terminal connections and get started with that. So it's pretty tight quarters in here, so I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you actually doing this, but I'll show you the results anyway. So here is the terminal block that we're going to install. So this guy is just going to have all those grounds going to it that way and mounted to the wall instead of all just stuck together with a giant moret, and that'll clean things up quite a bit. But I'm going to have to put ring connectors on all of the ends. Yes, I'm going to have to put ring connectors on all the ends. So we'll do that, put ring connectors on, and then we'll hook them all up to that. Okay, so just as a quick little update, I've got my ring connectors on all of my terminals now, and I've got my terminal block installed with the terminal line coming down into charge controller. Okay, so now we'll hook all that up and we will get a switch on the fan. So we got our little cleaned up anyway. There's our terminal block with all of our grounds going to it now, and we've got everything back plugged in there. So that looks a little neater. This one here is just another wire that's wired over to the far wall in the cabin. Hasn't been used for anything yet, so it's just an extra wire that is in there behind the wall that we haven't used yet. And then that's our solar that'll get plugged back in once we get the battery back hooked up. So on to, oh, hang on. And so there's our little button for the fan. That'll be right there. Got a little wild with the drill, but that's okay. Okay, and it is wired in just behind that wall there. Ready to go. So the idea with these is that I can use ring terminals on those posts in order to run out power from them. So that was the impetus behind those guys. So I've run into a snag with what I kind of felt was the most important part of this upgrade, and that was sealing the battery in some sort of a box so that I could vent the gases outside as it's charging. So I got in this box, which seems to be about the perfect size to get that battery in and still have a little bit of room around it. And I was going to put a vent out the back through the wall, and I can't. It's not, but I can't. It won't turn. It's too big. So we're going to have to figure something out. Stay tuned. So I've got about a 12-inch bit punched through the wall as a little test hole so I can see where to put the vent that I bought to go outside. So let's go have a look outside. And when I went to look outside, I'm finding that there's no bit. It should be sticking out the wall right about there. And it's not. So, got the old ladder out, and it turns out it's up in here in my eaves. Not sure what to do about that. What's that, buddy? Yeah. So that battery box wouldn't fit in this shelf because it's just a little too tight with this thing in there. But I found that it did fit in the top shelf, so I thought, well, that's fine. I guess we'll just switch it around and put it up there. But now where the vent needs to go out is actually under the roof or within the eaves of the roof. And I'm not sure what I think about that for venting the gas out. I mean, I guess it's fine. I mean, that's the whole point of that, is that it is venting up there and it's venting that air all the time. That's exactly what that space is there for. I guess. So I guess if I punch a hole here and punch another hole, push the insulation aside, and punch another hole through the exterior board up inside the eaves. That'll be it. That's how we'll do it, I guess. Hi, buddy. Need help with your helmet?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think I've got everything boxed up in here and wired up to the battery and running out. That vent is now, that whole battery is now venting any gas it's creating by charging is venting it outside. So that's fantastic. I feel much better about that. It rises up and there's a good slight rise to everything, so it's just going out. That's awesome, so I feel good about that. So we're going to move on to the little pieces to go, the little charging units to go into the side of that other wall, and then I think that's pretty much a wrap up. We'll maybe run through everything one more time and show you what we did everywhere, but feeling good about it. Okay, so if you saw the video where we did a little portable power pack with a battery inside and plugs on the front to charge things and stuff like that when you're camping, we're going to put one of those units, one of these guys with all those little USB chargers and a cigarette lighter and a voltmeter and a little switch. And put one of those right there in order to be able to be sitting here on the bench, on the couch slash bed slash bench slash whatever, and be able to plug in phones and things and keep an eye on stuff from here. So that's what we're going to do next. So we just traced out the circles on there. I forgot to bring a hole saw that size, so we're just going to have to cut out a square, which will be fine. That'll work just great. That's what we're doing. Also, I forgot to bring a small saw. Other than I've got a jigsaw, but I don't want to pull out the generator and everything. So we're just going to use this really awesome steak knife because I think that should work for this wallboard. Oh yeah. Yeah, if you ever need to cut wallboard, hardboard, steak knife. Okay, so more awesome problems. These guys are going to end up sticking out farther than the 2x4s, especially when they have ends on them and cables coming off of them, which means that the pantry will no longer slide through this opening without clipping them. Awesome. So we're going to have to build a little board on the other side of this to recess those back about 1/2 inch, maybe more. So I'm gonna have to build a little shelf for those, so I'm not sure we'll get that part done today, but anyway, that's the idea, is that they would go here, something like that. We'll even straighten them out maybe. But that's the idea, but they're not going to clear the pantry right now the way they are. They're gonna stick out just slightly. So we're going to have to recess those back a bit by putting a plate on the outside. Okay, that took a lot longer than it was supposed to today, and we didn't get the one part done, but here's what we got done. We did get all of the wiring in here cleaned up, which I'm really happy about. It looks much better. It's much more organized, a lot easier to see what's going where and what's working what. So that's really good. I'm happy about that. Got all the proper gauge wire in here now for what kind of amps it's pulling. In fact, over what it needs for sure. So that's a good thing. So I'm feeling good about that. All that's back up and running. Up here, this is the main one. This is the real big one for me that I really wanted to get done today, was to seal up that battery. A lot of you are going to ask, why don't you just put the battery outside? And the thing is, in this climate, in the winter, if you have your battery outside and it gets cold like that, it just literally zaps it. I mean, it's just absolutely terrible for it. So, you know, your capacity goes down to half pretty quick. So we like to have the battery indoors where we've got the heat going on. So even if the cabin is cold inside, eventually while we're here, it's going to be warm, and that brings the battery capacity up. So we do like to have the battery inside, but it was that gas that I was worried about. So now that's venting outside, which I'm really happy about. And that seemed to work pretty well, except for the little things we had to deal with. The last thing was I was trying to get on the other side of the wall here some charging plugs and some power plugs, some DC power plugs. But that's just, I'm going to have to do a little bit more goofing around and build a shelf kind of thing that pulls it out and that sort of thing, so that the pantry still slides in, because it was going to catch on that. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with the progress today and everything I got done. So that's good. Let's have a quick look at the whole solar system top to bottom, yeah? Okay, so outside we have a 40 watt panel. I'm hoping to upgrade that to a 90 watt panel that I've got on a different project right now. And when those ones get upgraded, I'm going to hopefully bring that 90 watt over. But right now it's a 40 watt panel. Inside the cabin, we have this Pt.1 charge controller. It's just a cheap one, but you know, I've had no trouble with it. It's been really good. 20 amp charge controller. So there we've got the solar panel coming in, the battery, and then that's where our DC runs to. And you've got a couple of USB charging ports on that as well. So that all runs into this set of blade fuses for all of our lights and our fan. And then we've got a terminal block now for all the terminal connections. And I think I mentioned earlier, this one is just an extra piece of wire that's in the wall, on the back wall, but we haven't used it yet. So it's just it's a future thing. So that's that little closet. And then up here, we have our vented battery through the wall. And yeah, that battery, just a car battery in a Rubbermaid container or tote. And then that's running the power down to the charge controller. So that's about it for that one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you've got questions about the solar system, oh, I almost forgot. Look. Now, this is the most fancy part. This I'm happy about. Look at that. And away goes our little fan. That fan has never actually been on a switch. It is always, it's always just been, I literally like unplugged one of these and plugged it back in to get it going. So that one's pretty exciting for me to have that little switch for the fan. Very exciting. Okay, folks, if you've got questions about anything we did here, I'm not an electrician, so, you know, I don't claim to know everything about this. So if you saw I did something wrong or saw that I'm screwing something up, please, by all means, let me know. I'm learning, so I would love to hear from people who do know more than me, for sure. If you learned something, that's great. And we'll see you on the next one, I guess. Alrighty, thanks, folks.
This was
Get out of here! You're a dork. Caramel.